Sure that the quorum was formed at 14:30 hours.
Yesterday, we did also see the presentation of 3 government bills. The first bill was presented by the Minister of Finance and National Planning, and that was the Public Service Pensions Bill, National Assembly Bill number 69 of 2026. And the bill was read the first time and referred to the Committee on Parastatal Bodies and for further notice. And so we do expect the committee to further examine the bill.
Another bill that was presented yesterday was the Local Authorities Superannuation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2026. This bill was presented by the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. It was read a first time and referred to the Committee on Parastatal Bodies for examination until further notice.
And the third bill was presented by the Minister of Energy, and that's the Petroleum Development and Management Bill, National Assembly Bill number 72 of 2026. And this bill was read the first time and referred to the Committee on Parastatal Bodies for further examination until further notice.
After that, there were a number of bills that were considered on the floor of the House, and most of them were indeed considered for second reading. And among these were the Public Roads Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 8 of 2026, the Land Survey Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2026, the National Health Insurance Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 15 of 2026.
Others include the Tobacco Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 16 of 2026, the National Council for Construction Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2026, and we also had the Health Professions Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2026.
And the last 3 bills that were considered yesterday at second reading included the Nurses and Midwives Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 25 of 2026, the Mental Health Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 26 of 2026, and the National Road Fund Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2026, not forgetting the Agricultural Lands Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 31 of 2026.
Yes, indeed, and we also had the Coffee Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 36 of 2026, which was equally considered at second reading stage, and thereafter the Food and Nutrition Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 38 of 2026 was also considered at second reading stage.
It's also important to mention that we also had the Tobacco Control Bill, National Assembly Bill number 40 of 2025, which was considered at report stage, but it also was read a third time yesterday and passed. You recall that this was necessitated due to the suspension of standing order, where more than one stage of a bill can be considered. So after the reading for the third time the Tobacco Control Bill, the House then considered the Water Supply and Sanitation Services Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2026 at third reading. It was since read a third time and has since been passed. The House then adjourned at 15:29 hours. So this morning at about 10 hours, we do expect Madam Speaker, Dr. Nelly B.K. Muti, State Council, MP FAPRA, to take chair at 10 hours. And at this time around, we indeed shift our attention to the business we expect the House to consider.
Yes, indeed. So today we do expect some announcements, if there will be any. We also expect the House to consider urgent matters without notice, if at all there will be any. Thereafter, we do expect a ministerial statement to be delivered by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and thereafter we expect presentation of government bills, and today we do expect 2 government bills to be presented. Thereafter, we expect the House to consider one question for oral answer under Standing Order 80. This is a question of ordinary nature. And we also expect the House to consider one motion, that's a motion to adopt a report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies, and thereafter we do expect the House to consider 13 bills at second reading stage. We get into the details of today's order paper.
So the ministerial statement that we expect to be presented on the floor of the House today will be presented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. And this statement is on the high-level engagements with Belgium, Sweden, and Japan, and Zambia's participation at the 11th Summit of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States in Equatorial Guinea. This statement, as I said, will be presented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
And thereafter, I must make mention that actually we just have one presentation of a government bill, and that's the Technical Education, Vocational and Entrepreneurship Training Bill, National Assembly Bill number 73 of 2026, which is expected to be presented by the Minister of Technology and Science. And this bill seeks to continue the existence of Technical Education, Vocational and Entrepreneurship Training Authority and redefine its functions, among others.
Thereafter, we do expect the House to consider a question for oral answer understanding order number 80, and this question will be posed by Chilubi Member of Parliament, Mr. Mlenga Fube, and it will be directed to the Minister of Agriculture. After that, we expect a motion to be moved by Dr. Chitalu Chilufya, and he'll be moving a motion to adopt the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies, that the House adopts the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of parastatal bodies and other statutory institutions for the financial year ended 31st December 2024 for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 4th May 2026.
Yes, indeed, Mutan, like mentioned earlier, we do expect the House to consider 13 bills at second reading stage. And just now, we give you just some of the bills that we expect the House to consider. Remember, Madam Speaker is expected to take the chair at about 10 hours. So the first bill is the Legal Aid Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 13 of 2026.
Then we also have the Metrology Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2026. The third bill is the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2026.
We also have the Business Regulatory Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 19 of 2026, the National Youth Development Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2026.
The Prohibition of the Development, Production, Stockpiling and Use of Chemical Weapons Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 27 of 2026 will also be considered.
And just now, Madam Speaker's procession making its way into the chamber. We take you to the floor of the House. Keep watching.
Honorable members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for our rights. We want freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, fashioned with and blessed by God's good hand. Let us all our people join as one, brothers under the sun, oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry, dignity and peace in Zambia's sky, like a noble eagle in its flight. Zambia
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen.
10:02 is the time on Parliament TV. The bells are ringing, signifying that there is no quorum. And once a quorum is constituted, indeed, business will commence. Just a reminder that for a quorum to be constituted, 1/3 of all members of Parliament have to be present, and that's about 56 members of Parliament. So earlier on, we're just looking at the bills that are going to be considered at second reading today. So we'll move on. We have the Minerals Regulation Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 32 of 2026. We also have the National Housing Authority Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2026. We also have the Citizens Economic Empowerment Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2026, all coming for second reading. Other bills expected to come up for consideration at second reading are the Green Economy and Climate Change Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 39 of 2026, the Competition and Consumer Protection Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 40 of 2026, the National HIV/AIDS, STI, TB Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 42 of 2026 will also be considered at second reading. And
just a reminder to all those honorable members with login credentials, please can you log in?
And another bill that we expect is the National Health Research Training Institute Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 43 of 2026. That was Madam Speaker just urging honourable members with login credentials to do so that it is established that a quorum is there. They should be counted for a quorum to be constituted. So those are the bills that we do expect the House to consider at second reading today. And earlier on, we did mention that we do expect to have a question for oral answer under Standing Order number 80. This question will be posed by Chilubi Member of Parliament, and he wants to ask the Minister of Agriculture whether the government is aware that some agro dealers supplied substandard fertilizer in Chisupa and Bulilo wards in Chilubi parliamentary constituency during the 2025-2026 farming season.
We can proceed. We have a quorum. There are no announcements. Urgent matters without notice. The Honourable Member for Chilubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Chilubi an opportunity to raise a matter without notice. Madam Speaker, my matter without notice is simple. The people in Chilubi are gripped with fear, the Chilubi parliamentary constituency, for one reason. There are low-flying planes passing every day, Madam Speaker. At first, I just used to hear about it, but I witnessed it for 6 days, even today at 6 hours. And they are passing mainly over the wetlands as well as the mainland. And the people don't have explanations because most of the time when the planes go that side, they either take relief food or something. Now, we have 2 airstrips. They have never landed in those 2 airstrips. That is the one at Santa Maria and the one at Mofu. Now, fear has gripped the people. I am directing this matter at the Minister of Communication and Transport. If the it can array the fears of people of Chilubi. Why those aeroplanes are low flying and what are they doing in Chilubi? That is my matter of without notice, Madam Speaker.
The honorable members, let's make progress. We have a lot of work on the order paper. So the honorable member for Chilubi, first of all, there is no ministry called Communications and Transport. The appropriate ministry is Transport and Logistics. So the honorable member for Chilubi, I would request you to engage the honorable minister and find out what is happening, because in view of the time frame that we have, and so please do engage, I've guided, do engage, as your matter doesn't qualify, first of all, to be asked as an urgent matter without notice. So engage the honorable minister. I'm sure he's approachable. The way you are looking at him is okay. It's okay. We are not used to planes, so let's make progress. Let's make progress. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation to present a ministerial statement. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. Honorable Member for Chilubi, you have already made your point. Please restrain yourself.
Madam Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to render a ministerial statement on the high-level engagements with Belgium, Sweden, and Japan, and Zambia's participation at the 11th Summit of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, OACPS, in Equatorial Guinea. Madam Speaker, I rise to update this Honorable House and the nation on the working visits undertaken to Brussels in the Kingdom of Belgium from 26th to 27th March 2026, Stockholm in the Kingdom of Sweden from 28th March to 1st April 2026, Zambia's participation at the 11th Summit of the Organization of American, Caribbean, and Pacific States held in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea from 27th to 29th March 2026.
Honorable members, let's listen to the Honorable Minister. After this, you would want to ask questions. So if we don't listen, we will not know what question to ask. May the Honorable Minister continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was saying the 11th Summit of the Organization of Africa and Pacific States held in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, from 27th to 29th March 2026, and the high-level official visit of His Excellency Motegi Toshimitsu, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, to Zambia on 30th April 2026. Madam Speaker, I wish to emphasize from the outset, that these engagements were undertaken in furtherance of government's economic diplomacy agenda aimed at strengthening Zambia's international partnerships, attracting trade and investment, and consolidating the country's position within the evolving global political and economic landscape. 1. Overview of the engagements. Madam Speaker, the engagements in Brussels, Stockholm, and Malabo provided a strategic platform for Zambia to advance its foreign policy objectives, promote investment opportunities, and strengthen cooperation with bilateral and multilateral partners. In Brussels, Zambia participated at the Africa Political Outlook Summit as guest of honor. In Sweden, the visit culminated in the signing of a memorandum of understanding on political consultations and the convening of the inaugural Zambia-Sweden political consultations. In Malabo, Zambia participated, as aforementioned, at the 11th summit of OACPS, which marked the 50th anniversary of the organization. And now the details, Madam Speaker. Engagements in Brussels, Belgium. Madam Speaker, during the visit to Brussels, Zambia participated at the 4th edition of the Africa Political Outlook Summit, where Africa's repositioning in a multipolar global order was deliberated. Zambia utilized the platform to articulate its strategic development agenda with particular emphasis on the following. 1. Value addition to critical minerals and strengthening mineral governance. 2. Promotion of regional industrialization, including through the Zambia DRC Battery Value Chain Initiative. 3. Expansion of renewable energy and sustainable industrial development. And 4. The need for equitable and sovereign partnerships that support Africa's development priorities. Madam Speaker, Zambia further highlighted key infrastructure projects, including the Lobito Corridor and other regional trade corridors, positioning the country as a strategic logistics and trade hub. Additionally, Zambia reaffirmed its commitment to macroeconomic reforms, including debt restructuring and fiscal consolidation, which have enhanced investor confidence and restored international credibility. Bilateral engagements with the European Union. Madam Speaker, on the margins of the summit, bilateral engagements were held with senior officials of the European Commission. These engagements resulted in 1. Recognition of Zambia's economic reform progress and environmental stewardship. 2. Strengthened cooperation under the EU Global Gateway Strategy. 3. Enhanced prospects for investment in energy, infrastructure, and critical minerals. And 4. Expanded collaboration in climate action and sustainable development. These outcomes, Madam Speaker, reaffirm Zambia's growing strategic importance as a credible and reliable partner across all sectors and to the globe as a whole. Working visit to Stockholm, Sweden. Madam Speaker, the working visit to Stockholm, Sweden marked a significant milestone in Zambia-Sweden bilateral relations, culminating in the signing of a memorandum of understanding on political consultations and the holding of the inaugural session of the said consultations. These reaffirmed the long-standing partnership between Zambia and Sweden and provided a framework for enhanced cooperation in priority sectors such as energy, transport, and agriculture. Madam Speaker, the consultations, I beg pardon, I'll read that again. Madam Speaker, during the consultations, both countries exchanged views on regional and global developments and reaffirmed their commitment to a rules-based international order. Sweden further expressed support for 1. Zambia's presidency at the Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention, and 2. Zambia's candidature for the United Nations Human Rights Council for the period 2027 to 2029. This reflects growing confidence in Zambia's leadership in multilateral diplomacy. Madam Speaker, a high-level trade and investment roundtable was convened with Team Sweden and major Swedish companies. Engagements were held with companies including Scania, Alstom, Epiroc, and Alfa Laval, focusing on renewable energy and decarbonization, smart agriculture and water management, industrial processing and manufacturing, and mobility and advanced technologies. Site visits were further facilitated. Madam Speaker, further facilitated discussions on technology transfer and investment opportunities in Zambia's priority sectors. Participation at the OACPS Summit, Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. Madam Speaker, Zambia participated at the 11th summit of the OACPS, held under the theme, A Transformed and Renewed OACPS in a Changing World. The summit brought together member states representing approximately 1.5 billion people and focused on strengthening South-South cooperation, advancing sustainable development, and repositioning the organization in a rapidly evolving global environment. Zambia reaffirmed its commitment to the OACPS and supported a renewed vision anchored on, inter alia, institutional effectiveness and coherence, a unified platform for advancing member states' interests, and delivery of tangible results-driven development outcomes. Madam Speaker, the summit adopted the Malabo Declaration, which outlined key priorities, including institutional reform and financial sustainability, acceleration of the OACPS EU Samoa Agreement, promotion of South-South cooperation and industrialization, strengthening of climate action and resilience, and enhancing the collective voice of the Global South in international fora. Additionally, the summit emphasized the need for value addition to raw materials, improved trade integration, and innovative financing mechanisms to support sustainable development. The high-level visit by Japan. Madam Speaker, Zambia received His Excellency Mr. Motegi Toshimitsu, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, who undertook a high-level official visit to Zambia on 30th April 2026 for the first time in 42 years. The visit marked a significant milestone in strengthening of Japan-Zambia relations and underscored the shared commitment to deepening cooperation in key strategic sectors such as mining, agriculture, and the development of the Nakala Corridor, as well as the Japan-Zambia Investment Agreement. During the bilateral engagements, discussions were held on priority areas of mutual interest, including economic cooperation, peace and security, and cultural exchange, aimed at consolidating existing relations and unlocking new opportunities for mutually beneficial cooperation. Zambia underscored its strategic geographic position as a gateway to regional markets in Southern and Central Africa, while reaffirming its openness to increased private sector investment. His Excellency, Mr. Toshimitsu, reaffirmed the Japanese government's commitment to encourage Japanese companies to expand their presence in Zambia, including in the field of critical minerals. Particular emphasis was placed on strengthening and collaborating in mineral exploration and value addition in alignment with the aspirations of the people of Zambia and in keeping with government's industrialization agenda. The engagements further built on the strong momentum generated by the official working visit of Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, to Japan in February 2025, as well as the participation of Her Honor the Vice President, Dr. Mutale W.K. Nalumango, at the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, which collectively reflected the growing and mutually beneficial partnerships between the two countries. Zambia expressed appreciation for Japan's continued support across various sectors, including development cooperation facilitated through JICA, as well as its support during Zambia's debt restructuring process. The Honorable Minister commended Zambia's ongoing economic and governance reforms, expressed confidence in the continued growth of bilateral relations, and reaffirmed Japan's commitment to supporting Zambia's development priorities, including the attainment of 3 million metric tons of copper productivity by 2031. Madam Speaker, the engagements underscore the position that Zambia has taken on the global stage, where it is fully appreciated that we are on the move. Strategic outcomes and national impact. Madam Speaker, The cumulative outcomes of these engagements include, but are not limited to, enhanced international visibility and credibility for Zambia, strengthened bilateral and multilateral partnerships, increased investor confidence and interest in key sectors, contrary to some of the views that have been heard recently, Madam Speaker, expanded opportunities for technology transfer and industrial cooperation, improved positioning of Zambia within global economic and development frameworks, and reinforcement of Zambia's role in advancing its national interests of developing countries on the global stage. Conclusion. Madam Speaker, the working visits to Brussels and Sweden, together with Zambia's participation at the OACPS Summit, have significantly advanced Zambia's foreign policy and economic diplomacy objectives. Government will now focus on translating these engagements into concrete investment programs and measurable development outcomes for the benefit of the Zambian people. The engagements with Japan, Madam Speaker, underscore the strong bilateral position that Zambia now enjoys and its attractiveness to like-minded global partners. Government remains committed to leveraging on international partnership to drive sustainable economic development, industrialization, and national development in the interest of the people of Zambia and for their ultimate welfare as the government's key priority. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement presented by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation. The Honorable Member for Kwacha.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for that ministerial statement that you've just presented on the floor of the House. Honorable Minister, it's quite evident that we have trade imbalances between African countries and the European Union and other European countries. And if you look on these trade imbalances, you find that we have trade tariff barriers, import and export restrictions, and many other factors that hinder a favorable trade atmosphere between African countries and the developed nations. Now, Honorable Minister, as you meet during these high-level engagements with the European countries, do we have discussions that are centered on dismantling these imbalances that we see in these countries? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I thank the Honorable Member for Kwacha for that very important question. Madam Speaker, I summarize the question as to whether or not discussions are had with our strategic partners on any forms of a trade or other imbalance that may exist in our strategic relations with them. And the simple answer to that question is that at all material times, discussions are had, not only with the EU, but also within our own regional and continental environment. For instance, the Honorable Minister of Commerce was just mentioning to me that there were discussions very recently with the DRC to address some of these trade imbalances that we see. Similarly, across the scope, across the environment that we interact with other foreign countries, we continue to do so. Also within the context of the broader African continental free trade area, and ensuring that as a continent we speak one voice, not only internally, but to the external partners as well. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mbabala.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and good morning. Honorable Minister, good morning, and thank you for that very important statement covering several visitations from yourself and our Honourable Vice President. Minister, as a country, we are faced with a number of issues, and amongst them is employment creation for a number of the number of graduates roaming the streets in terms of teachers, nurses, social workers, vet assistants, livestock extension officers is quite huge. And the transformation of your ministry to international cooperation is supposed to bring about placement of some of these extra cadres into foreign countries such as those you have visited and where you have had these discussions. Are there any international corporations that you have signed that will help us deal with this reality on the ground to the extent that we can do these placements the way we used to have Ghanaian teachers here, Nigerian teachers here, placed here on international cooperation? In a similar manner, Zambia can place these in other countries to try and solve our problem and bring in more direct foreign exchange, because such people will definitely send money home and grow our economy. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for Mbawala for that very pertinent question, really which seeks to find out what are the benefits that Zambia accrues from our foreign policy engagements. Madam Speaker, I would want to confirm to the Honourable Member for Mbawala that, in fact, amongst the benefits of these foreign engagements is capacity building. I think that's the question that he's asking. In terms of placement of Zambian citizens in foreign countries, Madam Speaker, I would say that the focus is more on building Zambia rather than contributing to a brain drain, as it were. So, for example, in the engagement with Sweden, there were significant conversations that were had in relation to the support towards the micro, small, and medium enterprises, so as to grow these and, of course, therefore, grow the economic capacity of the country. And Sweden is very excited to be able to provide opportunities not only by way of the expanded private sector presence in Zambia, the Swedish private sector presence in Zambia, which of course creates jobs, but also in terms of support so that our SMEs can quickly grow from incubation into viable entities that will directly bring capital inflow into our economy through their operations. And of course, we are also looking at, in the process, how our regional geographic advantage can create a hub for excellence in Zambia, so that we have a wider market for our goods, services that come about as a consequence of our strategic partnership. So it's a whole entire ecosystem based on a methodical approach towards ensuring that our engagements are not merely for show, but have a tangible outcome, an impact which ultimately will benefit the people of Zambia. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. There being no other questions, we make progress. Presentation of Government Bill. The Honourable Minister of Technology and Science.
Madam Speaker, I beg to present a bill titled The Technology, Education, Vocation and Entrepreneurship Training Bill number 73 of 2026. The objects of this bill are to A, continue the existence of the Technology, Education, Vocational and Entrepreneurship Training Authority and redefine its function. B, reconstitute the board of the Technical Education, Vocation and Entrepreneurship Training Authority and redefine its function. C, provide for the establishment and regulation of technical education, vocation, and entrepreneurship training institutions. D, constitute management boards for public technical education, vocational, and entrepreneurship training institutions and provide for their functions. E, constitute councils for public polytechnics and provide for their function. F, provide for the administration of examinations. G, provide for the accreditation of training program trainers, assessors, and examiners. H, continue the existence of the Technical Education, Vocational, and Entrepreneurship Training Fund and redefine its function. I, constitute a Technical Education, Vocational, and Entrepreneurship Training Fund Committee and provide for its function. J, repeal and replace the Technical Education, Vocational, and Entrepreneurship Training Act of 1998. And K, provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Let the bill be read the first time.
The Technical Education, Vocation, and Entrepreneurship Training Bill, National Assembly Bill number 73 of 2026.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on Education, Science, and Technology. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Question for oral answer, understanding order 80. The Honorable Member for Chilubi.
Question 340, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member, Mr. Fuwe, asked government whether government is aware that some agro-dealers supplied substandard fertilizer in Chisupa and Wulilo wards in Chilubi parliamentary constituency during the 2025-2026 farming season. He goes further in B to ask what measures have been taken against these agro-dealers, and C, whether the agro-dealers at A will be allowed to supply fertilizer in the 2026-27 farming season and subsequent seasons, and D, what measures the government is taking to prevent the reoccurrence of supply of substandard fertilizer. Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. Government is not aware of any reports that agro-dealers that supplied substandard fertilizer in Chisupa and Buliro was in Chilubi parliamentary constituency during the 2025-2026 farming season. So we are not aware, Madam Speaker. Then B, as in A above, government has not received any reports of substandard fertilizer in Chisupa and Buliro wards in Chilubi parliamentary constituency. C, therefore, as in A and B, no such reports were received. D, government did not receive any reports about substandard fertilizer having been distributed to any camp or ward in Chilubi parliamentary constituency during that farming season. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Chilubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think on this particular issue, I'm very passionate, and I think I did raise similar in the other question, but that particular agro dealer, I think this time around supplied very good fertilizer, and there is no way we can deal with that. I want to ask the minister, I don't know how many camp officers, I don't know the procedure of how camp officers feed into the DACO's office and all that, because 43 farmers have been affected. And this was not raised out of, from without, but it was raised out of monitoring of the performance of crops by a particular agro dealer. And I would like to, because the agro dealer is not here to defend themselves. If you can allow me, I will withhold, but if you allowed me, I can come to you and actually share the name. That particular agro dealer supplied. Of course, there are about 3-4 agro dealers that were in Chisupa, which are the main productive areas, and Wulilo, parliamentary wards. But that particular agro dealer, when they supplied, especially urea, the performance of their urea was very, very bad. And farmers, complained. And I think I physically monitored 43 farmers affected in these 2 wards. And these are the most productive wards when it comes to maize in Ichirubi. So I don't know if the minister intends to make follow-ups with the DACO's office, also with the camp officers, so that he may get the right information on the same question. Because if indeed the camp officers from Matipa camp and the other Muviri camp monitored, they would agree that 43 farmers were affected.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Madam Speaker, I sympathize with those farmers. How I wish that the Honorable Member, who is a very close friend of mine, could have told me that we have got so many farmers affected. Because when we have such reports, we immediately engage Zambia Cultural Research Institute to conduct verification and laboratory tests of the fertilizer and the soil. And where we find that there's something wrong, we escalate this to relevant authorities, including enforcers of the law, because we take that as a very, very serious crime. So it's sad that I can be told now, when people are harvesting, what would we do now? But I'm happy that you said we should discuss so that we follow up on this agro dealer. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Shwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to make a follow-up question. Honorable Minister, the situation obtaining in Chirubi, in those words, Bulilo and other words, could be also happening elsewhere. I would like to find out from you who inspects these inputs that are being supplied by agro-dealers, because it would appear that agro-dealers source these inputs starting from fertilizer and seed to some extent. How do you ensure that the quality and standard of these inputs they supply to our farmers is of certified standard? Who is the responsible for inspecting before these products before they are supplied to the farmers? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honorable Member for Shwangandu for bringing up that issue. Madam Speaker, there are about 5 elements that should all work together on this. Number 1, for fertilizer, we have got the primary informant should be the camp officer. Number 2, we have got Zambia Agricultural Research Institute, which actually has got laboratory testing facilities for this fertilizer. Number 3, the Seed Control and Certification Institute checks on what type of seed has been given. And we do tell the public, if it is seed, don't buy any seed which has no blue label on it. Only that is certified seed. Any other that has no blue label is not Zambian certified seed. Even if someone imports seed, they take it to Seed Control Certification Institute, they attach that blue label. You buy seed without that, you are risking your production. And finally, Madam Speaker, we, the citizens of Zambia, the way the Honorable Member brought it up, the way Honorable Member for Shwangandu is bringing these issues, let us be alert to see what type of product is being sold. Because remember, we are just learning the 100%, e-voucher system. Previously, it was easier because government would inspect what it has imported and what seed it is giving out. But now, it's 100% e-voucher. Agro dealers register with us, then they import what they feel is right and sell. So eventually, if someone is selling bad product, the way it has happened in Chilubi, if it has happened, thank you, people will not go to that agro dealer again. So it is also self-regulatory. It's like buying sugar and buying salt. If you're buying bad sugar, no one will buy your sugar. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chilubi.
Madam, I take responsibility partly. As he has said, I think I communicate to him frequently on what he said that I would have communicated to him on the issue, because this issue was observed when the maize was not even very far. Having said that, I don't know whether in future the ministry intends to put in safety valves for those agro dealers maybe when they run out of their own input, which possibly they took to some area, and they start sourcing from any other, using tricks of trade, any other source, just to fill that gap, because they have got these targets that you give them from the e-voucher. Whether there is a standard officer to check on such maneuvers, that's what I wanted just to find out from you.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Madam Speaker, this is a very serious issue. If an agro dealer has run out of his stock and suddenly you find him selling things which look substandard, he should be reported. Instantly, he should be reported. Because if you give a farmer substandard seed and substandard fertilizer, you are destroying his life for the next 2-3 years. It's not just a single season. So let's take it very seriously, colleagues. This is not an issue of which we should take lightly. It's a very serious issue. So we should be responsible to make sure that this market development of the e-voucher system works for Zambia. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mbavala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Minister, for clarifying that question from Chilubi. Just like in Chilubi, Honorable Minister, in Mbavala, we have, in Choma actually, we have some agro dealers who still owe inputs from the previous seasons, and they keep people on a promissory note. Is there a redress mechanism to try and ensure that these agro dealers can actually fulfill what they owe to some farmers? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
I thank you. I do not see how an agro dealer can be owing a farmer. We always tell the farmers, do not release your number to an agro dealer. He will get your money and not give you the inputs. How can a farmer also do that? But I would like to get the names of that agro dealer, the name of those agro dealers, so that we deal with them. And Madam Speaker, on a lighter note, Honorable Chisopa is talking with his hands and counting days, 7 days. I don't understand what he wants. May you allow him to ask me openly so that I respond to him? Thank you.
Although he has just walked in, I was toying with the idea of not allowing him. But being a democratic house, the Honorable Member for Mukushi South.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I was Honorable Minister, bearing in mind that 7 days more remaining, 7 more days remaining for us to go and ask for people's votes, for people's power, and that they are going to vote you out as UPND. This time around, they have already decided you are not coming. Madam Speaker, I wanted to find out from the Minister that there are some farmers who did not redeem their e-voucher for 2021 or for 2022, 2023 farming season, 2024, 2025 farming season. are you considering making a repayment to these farmers? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Maybe, Madam Speaker, first you should allow me to remind the Honorable Member from Kushe that nothing lasts forever on earth. Totally nothing, including you. In terms of the life of the 13th National Assembly, it has been one big leap for this country as Zambia, because we corrected what you, Honorable Chisopa, and your party did to this country. So we are coming back, Honorable. President Hakainde Hichilema is coming back without a doubt. President Hakainde Hichilema of the United Party for National Development is coming back. I feel sorry for most of my colleagues from the other side who used to be under PF. I've got very good friends there. Now, it's a pity. Just look where I are seated. There are no people there. Where are they? No, I'm not stopping. I'm not talking to you, Shwanganda. I'm talking to that one, Mpush. And for you, my dear brother-in-law, sit down. I reserve a lot of things on you. You are my brother-in-law, sit down. But him and his wife, who are both members here, are in a lot of trouble. Yes, you started it yourself, so allow me to finish. I was seated here peacefully answering reasonable questions. Decently and nicely. Now, having relieved that stress in you, where you have no party, I don't even know which party, you are free to come, it's not too late. Now I'll answer his question, Madam Speaker. He's talking of, first he said 2021, 2022. It was clear I didn't know what he was talking about. 2021, we just took over, so he's talking about people he left without paying. But at any rate, bring the list, Honorable Chisopa, we will pay them if they deserve payment. This party delivers. Remember, President HH loves you. He cares for you. He delivers for you. He still is going to deliver for you. And that's why you will give him a vote. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Does the Honorable Member for Shwangandu still want to raise a point of order?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
What's the point of order,
Madam
Honorable
Speaker,
Member?
thank you so much. Madam Speaker, I raise this point of order pursuant to Standing Order 71. Madam Speaker, we who still belong to the Patriotic Front Party and are still here in this August House are shocked by the submission of the Honorable Minister, who was here as the MP for Chipata Central under MMD, Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. Today is there under UPNG. What makes him think that the Honorable Member here can still come back here democratically under another party if it's not PF? It was in order, Madam Speaker, to include us who are in fact, he's not UPND, that one. He was he's a vice president for MDP under President with my elder brother with a small p, Honorable Mtati. But they merged under what is called some alliance. I don't know whether it's still UPND alliance without other parties. Is in order, Madam Speaker, to make us look like we have got no status, Madam Speaker? I think you're serious ruling.
Well, I think that was what we call in laws Kashimirila. The ones who understand laws, you know. Kashimirila is like icing on the cake. So we needed to relax a bit. So the point of order, I'm sure, was on a lighter note, so we can make progress. Now where are we? Motion, the Honorable Member for Shiwangando.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I beg to move that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies, on the report of the Auditor General, on the accounts of parastatal bodies and other statutory institutions for the financial year ended 31st December 2024, laid on the table of the House on 4th May 2026.
Thank you. Is the motion seconded?
Ably seconded, Madam Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Zambezi West. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies, on the report of the Auditor General, on the accounts of parastatal bodies and other statutory institutions for the financial year ended 31st December 2024, for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 4th May 2026. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Shiwangando.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in accordance with its terms of reference, as set out in Standing Orders 205, 206 of the National Assembly Standing Orders of 2024, the committee considered the reports of the Auditor General on the accounts of the parastatal bodies and other statutory institutions for the financial year ended 31st August 2024. The committee, therefore, has the honor and privilege to present its findings before the House. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that 16 entities were cited in the report of the Auditor General, which was considered by the committee. In order to acquaint itself with the queries cited in the audit report, the committee interacted with various controlling officers who tendered both written and oral submissions before it. Madam, I would like to believe that members of this august House have already perused through the committee's report. I will therefore only highlight a few pertinent issues that emanated from the committee's deliberations. Madam Speaker, the committee is concerned about the persistent weaknesses in corporate governance in some institutions. These include the absence of board charters, failure to adhere to established government directives, and delays in the preparation of audited financial statements. These weaknesses undermine transparency, accountability, and effective oversight. Madam Speaker, the committee is also concerned about the poor financial and operational performance recorded in several institutions. Most of these include failure to meet strategic objectives by entities such as the Zambia Revenue Authority, Tazara, and Infratel Corporation Limited. Further, the committee is concerned about the continued existence of negative working capital in several institutions. Some of the institutions that registered negative working capital include the Zambia Railways Limited, Mrungush Village Complex Limited, Kawambwa Tea Industries Limited, and Indeni Energy Company Limited. The negative working capital points to liquidity constraints and weak financial management. These challenges are further compounded by inadequate revenue collection, resulting in significant outstanding debts, as well as the failure by some institutions to insure variable public assets, thereby exposing them to avoidable risks. The committee is therefore strongly urges controlling officers to strengthen financial and operation management by improving revenue collection mechanisms, enhancing capital management, and ensuring that all public assets are adequately insured in order to safeguard government assets. Madam Speaker, the committee also observes weaknesses in investment management across several institutions. These include the failure to recover a loan amounting to 5 million kwacha from Shmine Investment by the Public Service Pension Fund, and delays in the construction of a hotel at Kenneth Kaunda Mall, which result in cost escalations from 14 million United States dollars to about 33 million United States dollars. Further, the committee is concerned about the failure to honor interest payments on loans issued to Urban Asset Brands Management Limited and Venice Holding Limited. Madam Speaker, another serious anomaly observed by the committee relates to weaknesses in investment management across several institutions. These weaknesses have resulted in financial losses, delays in project implementation, increased costs, and challenges in loan recovery, thereby negatively affecting the performance and sustainability of the affected institutions. The committee, therefore, strongly urges controlling officers and management of the affected institutions to strengthen investment governance by enhancing due diligence in investment decisions, improving loan recovery mechanisms, ensuring timely servicing of financial obligations, and implementing effective project monitoring systems in order to safeguard public resources and improve investment performance. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the committee, we urge the controlling officers and management teams in all parastatal bodies and other statutory institutions in the country to urgently strengthen corporate governance, financial discipline, and accountability frameworks in order to address the persistent weaknesses identified in this report. The committee further urges management to ensure strict adherence to established governance instruments and government directives, including the development and enforcement of board charters, timely preparation of audited financial statements, and compliance with statutory instruments. In addition, controlling officers are urged to improve financial and operational performance by enhancing revenue correction mechanisms, addressing liquidity challenges, and ensuring prudent working capital management to restore institutional stability. Madam Speaker, the committee also calls for strengthened investment governance, including enhanced due diligence in investment decisions, effective loan recovery processes, timely servicing of financial obligations, and strict monitoring of project implementation to avoid cost escalation and financial losses. The committee further emphasizes the need to reinforce procurement and contract management systems to eliminate irregularities such as unauthorized procurements, payments for undelivered works, and wasteful expenditure, as well as ensure value for money in all government transactions. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I wish on behalf of the committee to strongly urge all controlling officers and management teams to take immediate corrective action on these matters so as to enhance transparency, strengthen accountability, and improve overall performance of public institutions. I also wish to extend my sincere gratitude to all stakeholders, including your officers, Madam Speaker, who contributed to the production of this committee's report. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Because of the volume of the report, that's why I exercise my discretion to allow the chairperson, acting chairperson, to some more time. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The honorable member for Zambezi West.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion ably moved by the chairperson of the committee that this House do adopt the report on the Auditor General on the accounts of parastatal bodies and other statutory institutions for the financial year ended 31st December 2024, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 4th May 2026. As I second the motion, please allow me to highlight some other important findings by the committee which underscore the urgent needs for reform within our parastatal bodies. Madam Speaker, the committee observed serious weaknesses in procurement, contracts, and investment management across several institutions, including unauthorized procurements, payment for undelivered works, expired securities, and wasteful expenditure. The committee is also concerned with poor investment management reflected in failed loan recoveries, project delays causing cost escalations, and non-compliance with loan terms. These challenges point to weak due diligence and inadequate oversight, resulting in loss of public resources and undermining accountability. Madam Speaker, in view of the foregoing, the committee urges the controlling officers to strengthen procurement, contract and management and investment management systems by enforcing strict compliance with regulations, enhancing due diligence and oversight, ensuring timely project implementation, and improving loan recovery mechanisms in order to safeguard public resources and promote accountability. Madam Speaker, the committee is concerned about the lack of title deeds for properties held by several institutions, including Kawambwa Tea Industries, National Institute of Scientific and Industrial Research, the University of Zambia, and the Zambia Revenue Authority, with significant asset values involved. The situation exposes public access to the risk of disputes, encroachment, and possible loss of ownership. The committee therefore urges the controlling officers to prioritize the acquisition of title deeds and ensure that all institutional properties are properly secured and documented. Madam Speaker, the committee is further concerned with the failure by some institutions to ensure valuable public assets amounting to 532,75,638 kwacha, including those belonging to Kawamba Tea Industries Limited, the National Institute for Scientific and Industrial Research, and Zambia Railways Limited. This exposes government assets to significant financial risk in the event of loss or damage. The committee therefore urges controlling officers to ensure that all public assets are promptly insured and that adequate provisions are made in institutional budgets for insurance cover to safeguard public resources. Madam Speaker, it is for these and other reasons that I strongly second the adoption of the report. Madam Speaker, allow me to conclude by thanking the mover of the motion, the Honorable Stephen Kampyongo, and members of the committee for bringing to this House a very informative and useful report. I urge this august House to adopt the report. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Member, any further debate? The Honourable Member for Chiruvi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Chiruvi an opportunity to add their voice on this very important issue of the economy. Madam Speaker, the issues that are in this BAOT report are much to do with culture and the practice of the way we learn things, especially what we call VA government or for things for government. Madam Speaker, the report highlights current ratios that were not met, the issues of asset turnover, there are issues on return on investment, and trade payables have been addressed in your report, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are mopping the leaking tap. Why we are mopping the leaking tap, Madam Speaker, it is simple. These parastatals and statutory institutions are a carryover from the UNIP time. And the model that was used was for a commandist economy then. And our transition from a commandist economy to a liberalized economy, we did not prepare these parastatals to compete as commercial entities. And that means that they did not clothe themselves with a culture. Madam Speaker, I would like to just demonstrate that what we are talking about today, these are survivors of the 225 plus companies that were privatized then. And if these companies were privatized, if you look at many of these companies were milking ZCCM then, because many of them were linked to ZCCM as subsidiaries. Look at how Ndola is looking now. It was a harbor of some industry, but now it's a shell of a lot of buildings that have remained unattended to, which were under state control. But because of this gap that we have not watched as a nation, we had Indeco, Findeco, and all those factors. These factors, when we were transforming from a commandist economy to a balanced economy, there was emphasis at some point, especially with the MMD regime then, that government has no business in business. And that killed the gene that is supposed to participate in business. Madam Speaker, the question would be, do we still need these parastatals? Do we still need these statutory institutions? The question is yes. Why? Because they help in making sure that certain sectors that are linked to security, certain sectors that government need to participate not just through regulatory means, but participate in an economy as an active participant is taken on board. Things like water, electricity, roads, and many other still needs government participation because they are linked to social sector like health and education. Given that background, Madam Speaker, I want to say that what we require from a report like this one is to create business models, because we are operating like we are operating the bureaucratic arrangement of these offices where we find the permanent secretaries and the like. When it comes to parastatals, we need to take a different approach, Madam Speaker, because these parastatals are competing with the private sector. And if they are competing with the private sector, government has produced, this is a very good document. This one, National Corporate Governance, which was signed by Madam there, the Minister of Justice. But this document is not even being followed by these parastatals. And this is a very good document that feeds into the laws. It has laid a policy framework that should be respected by all of us. But alas, these things are not being followed. Madam Speaker, what is the nature? What is the model of the high DC today? Because we are mopping the leaking tap. What is the model of the high DC today? We have seen that the dragon economies, Singapore and many other, you can mention them, these which are ticking, have got a model, but they are also participating in the economy. And some of them, they are ticking better than private sector. Why? We have these Chinese companies that have come here, supported by government, and the government is getting some profit. We have to change the mindset of these. Madam Speaker, what am I trying to demonstrate? At some point, Madam Speaker, when we had Celtel and MTN, Zamtel then was controlling the gates of what should be allowed, what should go to Celtel and what should go to MTN. But Zamtel was underperforming. The one which had the powers to control the gate of flow of the worms was underperforming. You find that in terms of market share, MTN and Celtel grew bigger than Zamtel, which was a master of both regulation as well as the gates. So that speaks to the issue of culture. Madam Speaker, we also need to realize that what we are learning is a mixed economy. It's not just private-driven economy. It's a mixed economy. That is what we are learning. With these parastatals on papers, it is a mixed economy. The moment we realize that, we will need to engineer recapitalization that has meaningful, revival of this work, so that we even watch the profits, return on investment, and other things. Another thing, Madam Speaker, that the people of Chile would like to emphasize is that these parastatals, from time immemorial, it is not even a question of UPND or anything, have run as political projects, not as commercial entities, not as profit-making companies. And we don't realize that these parastatals are doing business just like any other. You find, for instance, that, companies like Zesco has the largest share in terms of generating, distribution, and other things that relate to the supply of power, electricity. But why is it underperforming in some way? With all this monopoly that it has, many of these have an advantage because of regulation and other factors. What we need to engineer is a proper, good corporate governance and work culture in these parastatal bodies, so that they realize that actually they are commercial entities. Let them not behave like ministries that are not meant to make profits and the like, which will correct receipts from passports and national registration cards and many other. They should position themselves with a particular model to make money. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? I see none. The Honourable Member for Shuangandu, winding up debate.
Madam Speaker, procedurally there should be response from the executive, and there are a number of ministries
I'm sorry. Because people didn't debate, so I jumped the gun.
Thank you.
Indications from the Honourable Ministers to respond to the report. The Honourable Minister of Youth, Sports and Arts.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The beauty about Madam Speaker, she always protects everyone. So don't even seek for protection because she protects everyone. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to also contribute. Firstly, allow me to thank your committee, Madam Speaker, on parastatal bodies for scrutinizing report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies on the report of the Auditor General's report on the accounts of parastatal bodies and also other statutory institutions for the financial year ended 31st December 2024. I also wish to thank members of the House that have indeed contributed to the discourse of the report. I'm able to mention Honorable Fube, who is sometimes difficult to follow. It touches a lot of things, goes to ZESCO, come back to IDC, it touches a lot of issues. But Madam Speaker, this is maybe the more reason why when we are bringing these amendments, especially on the composition of boards, just to make sure that we enhance on the issues of efficiency. So obviously, Honorable Fube, I want to thank you most sincerely for your contribution, and also Honorable Kampiongo, who ably moved this important motion, and also the seconder there, Honorable Musumari. Madam Speaker, we are bringing all these amendments to the boards to, as I said, to increase on the efficiency. Honorable Fube talked about issues of cadres being in these boards. I think you have seen now, we are even trimming composition of the boards from 23 to 11. We are also trimming from 30-something to 9, because we don't want what you've just said to continue. So this new Dawn administration, UPN new Dawn administration, is doing what you are proposing, just to bring in people that will really help enhance on the efficiency of the operations of these parastatals. You talked about IDC, which has really brought a lot of direct foreign investment in this country for the first time in the history of this country. And so I thought I should also make mention that indeed this is when we have seen a lot of investment that has also led to also job creation, because we are growing the economy. So it's not just the issue of talking about IDC. You should also appreciate what has been done so far by IDC. Having said that, Madam Speaker, your committee has made several observations and recommendations, notably on the performance of the state-owned enterprises and other statutory bodies. The government has embarked on reforms to transform the state-owned enterprises, such as the enactment of the State-Owned Enterprises Act 2026, which seeks to strengthen the management and the performance. So I think those are some of the steps that we have undertaken to make sure that indeed we strengthen the management and performance of all these parastatals. Before, it was not like that. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I just wish to thank and acknowledge the alignment efforts of the committee and the different stakeholders in reviewing and proposing recommendations for improved performance to the parastatal bodies. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further responses? I see none, so we make progress. The Honorable Member for Shwangandu, winding up debate.
Madam Speaker, I will start by expressing my slight disappointment with the response and the non-response of the executive. Like you've said, Madam Speaker, the volume of this report is cross-cutting. When we say statutory institutions, we are talking about high learning institutions under the Ministry of Education. IDC, the Minister of Finance should have had something to say, because the major respondent to this report is the Secretary to the Treasury. So we would have loved to hear some of the responses coming from there. Ministry of Energy is one of also that ministry that whose institutions are here. So is the Ministry of Communication and Transport. So to just make a response that we have gotten from the Minister of Youth and Sport is not enough from government. And we must take these reports seriously, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me thank the seconder of the motion, Honorable Mango Somali, for ably seconding the motion. Honorable Mlengafuwe, the MP for Chiluvi, who made contributions to the motion. The corporate, it's very difficult to thank you, Honorable Minister, because, like I've said, this is a comprehensive report, and it needed comprehensive responses from the executive. The issue of, Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister of Sport has mentioned of defining, changing, amending laws to change the composition of the boards is not a solution. The solution we are asking, and the main queries that have come, Honorable Minister, is lack of corporate governance. It tops all the challenges, meaning the boards are not in place at most of the time. Lack of constituting the boards. It's not the composition. This is the query that is coming in the Auditor General's report. Similarly, the management councils at the higher learning institutions, the universities, it's also one of the biggest challenges. Madam Speaker, we would have loved to hear something from the Minister of Energy, because Indian Refinery, which is a major company insofar as the energy sector, fuel subsector is concerned, is one of the matters that has been highlighted. And we interacted with the Secretary to the Cabinet on this matter. The changing of business model from the way Indian used to refine commingled crude to oil marketing business has proved a challenge. The company is heavily indebted, Madam Speaker, and it requires to be re-looked at. These are the matters. You should read the reports. And that's why we are concerned, because these are very critical matters, Madam Speaker, that require government attention. Madam Speaker, the other issue is failure to adhere to the Public Procurement Act. As alluded by the move of the motion, Madam Speaker, people with impunity ignore the provisions of the Act by engaging in irregular procurements, which also get into failure to manage contracts contracts management. Madam Speaker, you find people sitting with expired advance payment grantees, exposing government institutions to high risks. So it's important, Madam Speaker, that our colleagues in the executive, in as much as they have remained with very little time, obviously you can understand, but we needed to get assurances on some of these perennial audit queries that have been coming out of the Auditor Generals with regards to parastatal bodies. Madam Speaker, I beg to move and I urge the House to adopt the report.
Order. We make a decision. I put the question. The question is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies, on the report of the Auditor General, on the accounts of parastatal bodies and other statutory institutions for the financial year ended 31st December 2024, for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 4th May 2026. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. The clerk will now read the orders of the day.
The Legal Aid Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 13 of 2026, second reading.
The Honorable Minister of Justice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be read now for the second time.
The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Any debate? The Honorable Minister of Justice.
Madam Speaker, the Legal Aid Amendment Bill number 13 of 2026 seeks to amend the Legal Aid Act number 1 of 2021 in order to ensure that the board of the Legal Aid Board operates with efficiency and accountability, therefore building public trust, prioritizing the public interest, enhancing service delivery, and ensuring socio-economic transformation is the goal of this bill. Madam Speaker, currently, private sector participation in governance of the public institution has been limited or inadequate. This has led to governance differences and weakened private sector engagement, which has consequently hindered the effectiveness of the operation of many public bodies in our country. Madam Speaker, and indeed to the House, the inclusion of the private sector representation on the boards and the committees of government institutions is aligned with the objectives and the principles of the National Corporate Governance Code, which we as Ministry of Justice are very proud of. Which provide guidance on the optimal composition and functions of the board and committees, including the need for an appropriate balance of independent, non-independent members, diverse in gender, age. Madam Speaker, the conversation are a bit loud. I need your
Honorable
protection.
members. The Honorable Minister of Justice is on the floor. Can we lend an ear to what she's saying? May the Honorable Minister of Justice continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The need for appropriate balance of independent and non-independent members, diversity in gender, age, and inclusion of persons living with disabilities, as well as the important mix of skills, experience, and sector specification is very critical in terms of expertise. Madam Speaker, the private sector participation contributes to good corporate governance, among other as follows: enhancing board effectiveness and expertise, strengthening accountability, promoting innovation and resource mobilization, strengthening compliance and promoting inclusivity and stakeholder representation. Therefore, Madam Speaker, there is need to amend the Legal Aid Act of 2021 so as to revise the composition of the board of the Legal Aid Board to align with current policy directives, strengthen the governance of the board, and foster public trust and deliver better service through increased private sector participation. Madam Speaker, this bill is very progressive because once enacted, the legal aid will operate with efficiency and accountability as a result of increased participation of the private sector, civil society, and indeed other non-state actors. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, and indeed to the House, I therefore urge this House to fully support the proposed amendment to the Legal Aid Act of 2021. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The Honorable, the Chairperson of the Committee on Legal Affairs, Human Rights and Governance, the Honorable Member for Kanchibia.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with its mandate, the committee considered the Legal Aid Amendment Bill number 13 of 2026, which seeks to revise the composition of the Legal Aid Board in order to strengthen governance, inclusiveness, and the effective delivery of legal aid services. Madam Speaker, this is an important bill because legal aid lies at the heart of access to justice, particularly for the poor and the vulnerable. The committee saw broad support for the bill while also identifying key areas requiring refinement. Firstly, Madam Speaker, the committee is concerned by the exclusion of the Ministry of Finance from the board, given the importance of sound financial oversight over the Legal Aid Fund. The committee therefore recommends a reconsideration of its exclusion, or as an alternative, the establishment of mechanisms to safeguard fiscal accountability. Secondly, while the inclusion of private sector representatives is progressive, the committee observes that the bill does not provide clear criteria for their appointment. The committee therefore recommends that transparent eligibility criteria and objective procedures be available to guide such appointments. Thirdly, the committee is concerned that the nomination and appointment process is not sufficiently regulated to promote transparency, accountability, and public confidence. The committee therefore recommends clear merit-based procedures supported by defined timelines and vetting mechanisms to be established. Madam Speaker, with regard to concerns over the inclusion of a representative of the Attorney General, the committee supports this provision. The committee is of the view that the legal expertise of the Attorney General's office will strengthen decision-making and improve coordination between the board and government institutions. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, the committee supports the bill subject to the concerns and recommendations contained in the report being taken into account, so as to ensure that the Legal Aid Board remains effective, independent, and credible in delivering access to justice. I therefore urge honourable members of this House to support this bill. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debates? Honorable members, let's debate the reports. I see no debate. The Honorable Minister of Justice winding up debate.
Madam Speaker, we appreciate Honorable Fuve. I'm surprised that he didn't debate. He does a good job and is an asset to this Parliament. Madam Speaker, all to say I appreciate the chairperson of the committee that has rendered its comments through the chair, Honorable Sunday Chanda of Kanchivia. Indeed, those have been taken, as well as the support and indeed urging the House to actually support these amendments. Madam Speaker, thank you very much.
I put the question. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. No. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Let the bill be read a second time.
The Legal Aid Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 13 of 2026.
Committee stage to be taken when?
In due course, Madam Speaker.
Committee stage to be taken in due course. Next order.
The Metrology Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2026, second reading.
The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read a second time. Thank you.
The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Any debate? The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Madam Speaker, I wish to express my gratitude to the chairperson of the Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labour Matters for supporting the bill. I also want to thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to wind up debate. In the interest of time, I will focus on the observations and recommendations presented in the report. 1. Appointment of board chairperson by the Minister. My ministry acknowledges and takes note of the committee's concern under Clause 3, Section 7, 1 of the bill, which provides for the appointment of the board chairperson by the Minister. Provisions of minimum nomination standards. My ministry acknowledges and takes note of the committee's concern on Clause 3 of the bill, which does not provide for the minimum nomination standards required to serve on the board. My ministry will make sure the minimum nomination standards are followed to ensure genuine representation of consumer and public interests. 3. Conclusion, Madam Speaker. My ministry considers this bill as a positive step in strengthening Zambia's legal and institutional framework for measurement systems. We therefore welcome the bill and commend the committee for its well-articulated report. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Any further debate? The chair or the acting chairperson of the Committee on National Economy, Trade, Labour Matters, the Honourable Member for Ron.
Madam Speaker, the committee is in support of the bill. Of course, this notwithstanding some stakeholders who raised some concerns, on which the committee makes the following observations and recommendations. Madam Speaker, the committee observed that lack of transparency and public engagement in the appointment of the board chairperson by the Minister, as provided under Clause 3, Section 7.1 of the bill, can have adverse effects which include the lack of legitimacy of governance and appointment of a less qualified person as a board member. Madam Speaker, in view of this, the committee recommends that board elections be introduced in the bill as a mechanism to identify a chairperson, as this enhances leadership, trust, respect, and alignment with strategy, inclusivity, and commitment to governance. Madam Speaker, the committee also observes that Clause 3 of the bill does not provide for the minimum nomination standards required for one to serve on the board. In view of this, the committee recommends that the clause be amended to provide for minimum qualifications required for a person to be nominated as a board member. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to thank you and all the stakeholders for the support rendered to the committee throughout its deliberations. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry to wind up debate.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank all the members of the committee, the chairperson, and everyone else, and I therefore recommend, Madam Speaker, that the bill be adopted. I submit.
Order, honorable members. I put the question. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Let the bill be read a second time.
The Metrology Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2026.
Committee stage to be taken when?
In due course, Madam Speaker.
Committee stage to be taken in due course. Next order.
The Anti-Gender-Based Violence Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2026, second reading.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read a second time.
Thank you. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Any debate? Her Honor, the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for according me this opportunity to present before this August House the rationale of the proposed amendments to the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Act number 1 of 2011, particularly relating to the review of the composition of the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Committee. At the outset, allow me to express my sincere appreciation to the Parliamentary Committee on National Guidance and Gender Matters for its diligent and thorough consideration of this bill. I also commend all stakeholders for their constructive input, which has contributed meaningfully to the development of this bill. Madam Speaker, the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Act number 1 of 2011 established the Anti-Gender Violence Committee as a central coordinating mechanism to support the prevention of and response to the gender-based violence in our country. Over the years, this committee has played an important role in strengthening coordination among institutions responsible for addressing gender-based violence and supporting survivors. However, Madam Speaker, following the government policy directive to restructure the composition of boards and committees across public institutions, it became necessary to review the composition of the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Committee. This policy directive seeks to harmonize governance structures, promote efficiency, enhance accountability, and improve service delivery across government institutions. In line with this directive, the proposed amendment seeks to align the composition of the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Committee with prevailing governance standards while maintaining its effectiveness in coordinating gender-based violence prevention and response interventions. Madam Speaker, the review of the composition of the committee is necessary for several important reasons. A, the revised composition is expected to enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of the committee. By ensuring representation from key institutions and stakeholders with direct mandates in gender-based violence prevention and response, the committee will be positioned to coordinate programs and deliver measurable results. B, the proposed amendment is also expected to bring about operational and administrative improvements within the gender division and other implementing institutions. Madam Speaker, gender-based violence remains a serious concern that affects individuals, families, and communities across our nation. Government, therefore, remains resolute in strengthening institutional frameworks that promote prevention, protection of survivors, and effective response mechanism. The proposed amendments to the composition of the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Committee represent a necessary step towards strengthening governance, improving coordination among stakeholders, and enhancing the effectiveness of national interventions aimed at eliminating gender-based violence. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, the review of the composition of the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Committee is a strategic reform intended to align the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Act with government policy on restructuring boards and committees. This reform will enhance governance systems, strengthen institutional coordination, and improve the delivery of gender-based violence prevention and response programs. It is my sincere hope that honorable members of this House will support the proposed amendments as they represent an important step towards strengthening our collective response to gender-based violence and safeguarding the well-being of our citizens. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The acting chairperson of the Committee on National Guidance and Gender Matters, the Honorable Member for Chilubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in accordance with its mandate, your committee considered the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Amendment Bill number 18 of 2026, which seeks to revise the composition of the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Committee. Madam Speaker, the committee supports the bill. However, arising from the concerns raised by stakeholders, the committee observes that the separate representation of non-government organizations and civil society organizations may result in duplication of membership and overlapping roles, as the two categories often advance similar interests. Madam Speaker, what we are talking about is that these two are interchangeably used even in the sphere of non-government organizations. Even in their registration, some of them are registered under the community development, and some of them will find themselves under the registrar of societies, if not both. Such is not properly separated in the bill. This may affect efficiency and balance stakeholder representation on the committee, meaning that it may duplicate because it's coming from the same basket. The committee, therefore, recommends that the bill be amended to provide for a single unified category representing both non-government organizations and civil society organizations in order to avoid duplication enhance efficiency, and promote balanced representation within the committee, meaning that this particular composition, which the civil society or NGO would take, you find that the term civil society is an umbrella term used to even accommodate civil society, meaning that there will be duplication, and the committee is calling for a single approach in terms of representation on this one, so that duplication is not done. Madam Speaker, the committee also observes that the inadequate representation in the composition of the committee, especially from the public sector and statutory bodies, may undermine inclusivity, objectivity, and the diversity of perspectives required for effective deliberation and decision-making in regard, and decision-making, Madam Speaker, sorry. This, Madam Speaker, is also in agreement with Article 259 as by the Constitution. In this regard, the committee recommends that the bill be amended to clearly define the composition of the committee as to ensure balanced representation of all key stakeholders, groups, including public sector institutions and statutory bodies, in order to enhance accountability and effective functioning of the committee. Madam Speaker, the committee also observes that the absence of provisions for gender parity are inadequate to guarantee inclusive and balanced participation in the committee's deliberation and decision-making process. In addition, the committee observes that the bill does not adequately provide for the representation of key stakeholder groups during meetings in the committee, and this gap, Madam Speaker, may undermine the inclusivity balance that is essential for effective and credible decision-making. In view of this, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the bill be amended to incorporate a 50-50 gender representation and to ensure the inclusion and participation of representatives from key stakeholder categories during meetings of the committee, so as to strengthen inclusivity, balance, and the credibility of its deliberation and decision-making. Madam Speaker, to underscore this, Zambia signed a lot of protocols to deal with gender, and among them is SADC, and this is a window where the 50-50 could be exercised, and it will also be in agreement with our Constitution, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this, in conclusion, I wish to thank you and all the stakeholders for the support rendered to the committee throughout its deliberation. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debates? Her Honor, the Vice President, winding up debate.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And I would like to thank the chairperson of the committee for the report that they have produced and the recommendations that the chair has made. We take note of them, some of which will be dealt with administratively, and indeed for some, there is need to see that we make an amendment, especially when it comes to the Zambia Police Victim Support, because I think they need a presence. The human rights need a presence. But we will come back, Madam, to look at the recommendations, which are progressive, but it's important to look at the purpose for amending. That should not be taken away, because the issue of gender parity, I think, is captured within there when people are getting appointed. It's the institutions. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the committee for the wonderful work and yourself, Madam, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for the support to this bill at this stage. Thank you very much.
I put the question. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. Let the bill be read a second time.
The Anti-Gender-Based Violence Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2026.
Committee stage to be taken when?
In due course, Madam.
Thank you. Committee stage to be taken in due course. Next order.
The Business Regulatory Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 19 of 2026, second reading.
The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry. The Honorable Acting Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read a second time.
I think there was an indication of some steps to be taken by the Honorable Minister. Maybe for the benefit of the Minister, we can start with the next order. We go back, the Acting Clerk. We can go back so that we are. Next order. The competition. We are okay. Okay.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much, and I apologize for the delay in rising up. Madam Speaker, with the leave of the House, I beg that we defer the bill to a later date. I submit, Madam Speaker.
I think we are on two different bills. The bill that we are looking at now is the Business Regulatory Amendment Bill, Bill number 19 of 2026. I think the Honorable Acting Minister was in order when he mentioned this. Me who made a mistake.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read a second time. Thank you.
Thank you. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Any debate? The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of my ministry, I wish to express my gratitude to the chairperson of the Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labour Matters for supporting the bill. I further extend my sincere thanks to you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to clarify key aspects of the bill. We commend the chairperson and committee. The report on the floor of the House comprehensively outlines the background, objectives, and key provisions of the bill. In the interest of time, Madam Speaker, I will focus on the observations and recommendations presented in the report. 1. Risk of capture by the private sector. My ministry acknowledges and takes note of the committee's concern on the potential risk of capture associated with the proposed composition of the board, given the presence of the Zambia Association of Manufacturers and private sector experts. 2. Lack of selection criterion for civil society representations. My ministry acknowledges and takes note of the committee's concerns on the selection criteria for civil society nominees. My ministry will make sure the selection criteria is transparent to ensure genuine representation of consumer and public interests. 3, in conclusion, Madam Speaker, my ministry considers this bill as a positive step towards strengthening transparency, accountability, and governance in business regulation in Zambia. We therefore welcome the bill and commend the committee for its well-articulated report. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The chairperson of the acting chairperson of the Committee on National Economy, Trade and Labour Matters, the Honourable Member for Ron.
Madam Speaker, I sincerely want to thank you. Madam Speaker, the committee is in support of the bill. However, based on the concerns raised by stakeholders regarding the selection criteria for civil society representatives to serve on the board, the committee observes that the bill does not specify the selection criterion for civil society nominees. Madam Speaker, in this regard, the committee recommends that the bill should introduce a transparent selection criteria for the civil society representatives to ensure genuine representation of consumer and public interests. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to thank you and all the stakeholders for the support rendered to the committee throughout its deliberations. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The Honourable Member for Lunte.
Madam, thank you for the opportunity. Just a one-line contribution on this particular bill. Madam Speaker, when you introduce any change, I think it is necessary to justify the change. We are now in an environment that is expanding regardless of what direction you look. Whether you have to consider the amount or the number of the inhabitants of this nation, they are expanding. We were talking about 18 million Zambians. Today we are saying 21 to 22 million Zambians. Madam Speaker, to represent the 21, 22 million Zambians, we are talking about an expanded parliament by 70 elected MPs, 40, you know. And then when you come to these organizations which reflect the governance, then what you see is reduction in governance structure. Then you ask, why expand parliament when you are reducing the other structures? Why expand or why reduce these structures when the Zambian people are increasing? Madam Speaker, I would have proposed that instead you look at the criteria which the chairman spoke about. Look at the criteria of selecting the people that you are taking to the board so that you select people who can have positive impact on the organizations so those organizations can achieve their objectives. It is not enough to reduce the numbers. Parliament has taught this country a lesson. What, in fact, we are doing is expanding numbers. Madam Speaker, what should be enough is looking at the quality of the people you are placing on these various boards. Madam Speaker, how do you then introduce a bill which does not even provide for the criteria to pick the members of that board? Who is going to be using their own discretion to place people on those particular boards that are being changed, Madam Speaker, when you are living in a country where there has been serious complaints regarding many people accusing organizations of, stalking, cadres of this political party and the other into leadership positions. So my sense is that let's put a criteria. My sense is that, in fact, we need to be expanding. The same way we are considering the expansion of parliament, the same way the Zambian people are expanding, Madam Speaker, since we can fund this expansion, it's also possible to fund this expansion because we are the same parliament, we are the same government, we are the same people who are paying these taxes. Honorable Minister, I urge you not to think in terms of reduction of numbers. I urge you to think in terms of improving quality because I think that is what should matter when you are looking at providing decent service to the Zambian people. Madam Speaker, I wish to make a one-line contribution.
That was indeed a one-line contribution. Thank you very much. Any further debate? I see none. The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry to wind up debate.
Madam Speaker, allow me to thank the chairperson and the committee for the submission, and allow me to thank even the Honorable Member for Lunte for his submission during this debate. I wish to further thank your office, Madam Speaker, for allowing me to present this bill before the House and recommend that the House do adopt this bill. I submit, Madam Speaker.
I put the question. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary say no. No. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Let the bill be read a second time.
The Business Regulatory Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 19 of 2026.
The committee stage to be taken when?
In due course, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you. The committee stage to be taken in due course. Next order.
The National Youth Development Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2026, second reading.
The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill be now read the second time.
Thank you. The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Any debate? The Honorable Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts.
Madam Speaker, it is my honor and privilege to present this policy statement on the National Youth Development Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2026. The bill seeks to amend the National Youth Development Council Act, Chapter 144 of the laws of Zambia. And the objectives of the bill are to A, revise the composition of the National Youth Development Council, and in B, provide matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Madam Speaker, in line with Cabinet Office Circular Minute number C0101/39/1 of 2025, in which guidance was given to amend all pieces of legislation on board and committees. My ministry therefore adhered to the guidance.
I hope the Honorable Member for Lunte is listening. That's the rationale for why the bills are being amended. Please listen so that you don't, when you debate in context. May the Honorable Minister repeat that just for emphasis, for the benefit.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And I'll be very, very slow, Honorable Member for Lunte. Honorable Member, the objective of the bill is to revise the composition of the National Youth Development Council in line with Cabinet Office Circular Minute number C0101/39/1 of 2025, in which guidance was given to amend all pieces of legislation on board and committees. So my ministry, therefore, indeed adhered to the guidance, and we are now proposing amendments to revise the composition of the Council of the NYDC. And therefore, Madam Speaker, the revision of the composition of the Council is being proposed in order to strengthen governance, improve efficiency, and enhance operations of the Council in the implementation of youth development programs. The amendment proposes that Council membership be reduced from the current 23 to 11. And this is very, very important in order to ensure that there is prudent utilization of resources for the implementation of youth development programs and other youth-related activities. Madam Speaker, I wish to inform this august House and the nation that the Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts was granted approval in principle also to repeal and replace the National Youth Development Council NYDC Act, Chapter 144 of the laws of Zambia, in its entirety, in order for the law to respond to the current needs of the youth. So the approval in principle granted by Cabinet meant that the old Act maintained the status quo, while the other processes to repeal and replace the National Youth Development Council Act number 144 of the laws of Zambia were ongoing. And to this effect, the main bill is currently at validation stage before submission to Cabinet Office. As I conclude, Madam Speaker, I would like to thank the Committee on Youth, Sport and Child Matters for the work they continue to do in relation to the development of the youth sector in the country. I therefore also urge this august House to support the amendments of the bill. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The chairperson on the Committee on Youth, Sport and Child Matters, the Honourable Member for Kankoyo.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have the honor to present the report of the Committee on Youth, Sport and Child Matters on the consideration of the National Arts Council of Zambia, Amendment Bill number 20 of 2026 for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly. Madam Speaker, in accordance with the mandate, the committee considered the National Arts Council of Zambia Amendment Bill number 20 of 2026, which seeks to strengthen governance of the arts sector through a revised and competence-based composition of the Council. Madam Speaker, the committee supports the bill as an important reform aimed at modernizing institutional governance, promoting transparency, and supporting the growth of the creative economy. The bill is a positive step towards positioning the arts sector as a meaningful contribution to national development. However, while supporting the bill, the committee My apologies, Madam Speaker.
It's okay, you can start all over.
Madam Speaker, I have the honor to present the report of the Committee on Youth, Sport and Child Matters on the consideration of the National Youth Development Council Amendment Bill number 24 of 2026 for the 5th session of the 13th National Assembly. Madam Speaker, in accordance with its mandate, the committee considered the National Youth Development Council Amendment Bill number 24, which seeks to strengthen governance, improve efficiency, and enhance inclusivity in the administration of the youth sector. Madam Speaker, while the committee supports the bill as a progressive reform, it does so subject to important recommendations intended to safeguard the youth-centered character and effectiveness of the Council. Firstly, the committee is concerned by the proposed reduction in youth representation on the Council from 52% to 36%. The committee is of the view that this risk weakens youth ownership and participation. Accordingly, the committee recommends that the majority of the nominated members of the Council should be youth in order to preserve meaningful representation and ensure that the council remains firmly under the stewardship of young people. Secondly, stakeholders raise concern over the use of the term most representative in relation to youth and civil society organization, which is not clearly defined and may lead to arbitration selection. The committee therefore recommends that the bill be amended to provide clear and objective criteria for determining representation, organization, including provincial representation, membership size, geographical reach, program activity, and sound governance structures. Thirdly, while the inclusion of civil society and private sector representation is welcome, the committee is concerned that without proper definition such as representation may dilute the youth-focused mandate of the Council. The committee, therefore, recommends that the bill clearly defines the term private sector and specify the enterprise required for such representation so that appointments are proposed and contribute meaningfully to the youth development. Fourthly, the committee recommends that the inclusion of an independent legal practitioner nominated by the Law Association of Zambia in order to strengthen corporate governance and provide independent legal input in the works of the Council. Madam Speaker, the committee further recommends that the executive takes these concerns into account in order to strengthen inclusivity, promote transparency, and safeguard the integrity of the Council. Subject to these recommendations, the committee supports the bill and believes it has the potential to significantly strengthen institutional framework for youth development and improve service delivered to the young people of Zambia. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, I wish to thank all stakeholders who appeared before the committee for their valuable submission. I also extend my gratitude to honorable members of the committee for the dedication and commitment. Finally, I want to thank the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly for the support rendered during our deliberation. I therefore urge honorable members to support this bill, subject to the committee recommendations. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The honorable member for Chilubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a bill we did not need to touch. This is a bill we did not need to touch, Madam Speaker, because one of your youths, by the name of Ruthie, I think I've forgotten, is it Karumiana, petitioned this parliament through Article 88 of the Constitution of Zambia, supported by Standing Orders Act. And this has been a pending issue for a longer period. Why we did not need to touch this bill, Madam Speaker, in the manner that we have done, is that when we look at what we have scratched, by the way, this is a unique bill. Cap 144 is a unique bill. Is a unique act, sorry. And if it's a unique act, I think I remember it should be 86. And the last amendment was 94. And the dynamics here have changed. And when we look at the area of youth, it is an homogeneous, heterogeneous area, not homogeneous. It is heterogeneous in that,
The honorable member for Chilubi. Order. I think what we do is let's stick to the report. Those other matters, if you are listening to the Honorable Minister, he did indicate. So let's not talk about a petition which is pending. It hasn't yet been presented before this Honorable House. The bill specifically talks about the revision of the National Youth Council, Development Council. Revise the composition of the National Youth Development Council. Anything else we are not touching, just that. Thank you, you may proceed.
Madam Speaker, I do take your guidance, but as a very experienced youth worker.
The honorable member, you don't do bad to the presiding officer after guidance. Just comply, follow the guidance. and you'll be on safe ground. You may continue.
Madam Speaker, can I be allowed to talk about the report in relation with the bill? Because the report is feeding into the bill. Madam Speaker, my background was that this bill, if you follow Section 8 of the Parent Act, Madam Speaker, the surgery we have done to the bill will do nothing. And I want to be a patriot on this one, Madam Speaker. Not just a patriot without nothing, but it's a sector that I've heavily interacted with. Madam Speaker, when we look at the bill, let me stick to the bill. Section 2. The bill is talking about legally disqualified, which means the absence of legal capacity as provided under Section 4 of Mental Health Act. Madam Speaker, that in itself, many of the things, even when it comes to the Constitution, even when it says mentally sound and the like, people are not subjected to that. Madam Speaker, when we look at the trimming of the board or the council to this 11, I said it is heterogeneous because it represents a lot of interests. The youths, by our definition of the Constitution, are between 15 to 35 of our population, meaning that it encompasses a lot of them. Madam Speaker, there are issues of how someone is discharged as a member. One of the issues is, under clause 7, is adjudged bankrupt under any written law. Many of the youths, when we look at their financial capacity within the age of 15, within the age of 15 to 35, in this economy, will be declared adjudged bankrupt because of their standing economically. And this by itself discriminates the youths in a lot of areas. That's one.
Order, honorable member for Chilubi, let me just give guidance. When somebody is declared bankrupt, it's a procedure. It goes to court and finally, after hearing, then somebody is adjudged bankrupt. So, and also here we are talking about the board. We are not talking about the youth. They are in every youth. We are talking about the board that is going to give policy direction to the affairs of the council. So we are talking about National Youth Development Council. I assume at district level also there will be things like that. So can you debate in context with us? That's why I was saying, stick to the report. Don't try to interpret legal concepts to confuse you. You may continue.
If you don't know. Madam Speaker, what I was trying to talk about is in relation with the composition. The composition, if you look at it, it is youth-friendly. It is youth-related. And I was trying to look at what the definition says in the Constitution. And of course, Madam Speaker, I have in mind the process which every citizen follows to be declared bankrupt. And I was also talking about the economic status of these representatives who will be included on the board. Madam Speaker, I have still the temptation of talking about this bill in relation to any other piece in Cap 144, because that is what we are amending. And Section 8 attracts my attention. Section 8, among other things that this board is supposed to do, the functions of the board, is that this particular council is, one, supposed to advise the minister on youth programs. Two, it is also supposed to monitor and implement youth programs. And another thing is that it's supposed to coordinate youth activities and presumably in the country.
Honorable member, Section 8 is not being amended right now. the functions of the council are not being amended. What is being amended is the section that deals with the composition of the board. Only the other issues, the minister has indicated that it will come. So if you are fortunate enough to be in the 14th Parliament, you'll be able to debate the amendment of the main act. So please stick to the composition, revision of the composition of the council.
Madam Speaker, maybe I just step aside because the council has functions to perform. And it is not just being composed without considering that it will perform functions. And Madam Speaker, this is just one piece that is going to sit in Cap 144 and its composition. Composition means that from where I stand as a layperson, that these people have to perform certain functions. And the board cannot stand without functions. Madam Speaker,
okay, let's speak one voice. Look at the bill, Honorable Member. If you can kindly show the House where the functions of the board have been amended, where there is a proposal to amend the functions of the board in the bill. Bill number, the bill that we are looking at, bill number 24 of 2026. Is there an amendment there touching on the functions of the council?
There isn't, Madam Speaker.
Okay, so let's stick to composition, revision of the composition of the council.
Madam Speaker, maybe let me just say that this is an academic exercise that we are venturing in, and this will take the bill nowhere. I submit.
Thank you very much. Any further debate? The Honorable Member Fonkana.
Madam Speaker, I spent my earlier morning at court and may be disoriented, but I thought that I just added a voice to this conversation, noting that the youth is a very integral part of national development, and such that any attempt to amend any law that deals with young people must carefully be considered. Now, as you have been guiding the earlier debate, Madam Speaker, we are focusing on the amendment to the composition of the National Development Council, the Youth National Development Council. Now, I do remember even yesterday when we were looking at the amendment to, the number of boards we amended yesterday. I think even earlier on, there are quite a number of boards we have amended. Yesterday, I was asking a very pertinent question as to what is the motivation for us to make a decision to make these amendments. Now, when I sat here listening to the minister as to the rationale that motivated this particular decision, he mentioned that this decision was motivated by a cabinet circular that sought to entirely revisit the composition of committees and boards. Now, from where I stand, I thought that the major motivation for any attempt to reduce or increase any board must be because of performance, okay? For me, it takes me to the issue of what takes prominence between efficiency and effectiveness. Because from where we stand, we are trying to reduce the board from 23 to, is it 11? Now, the question is, if you reduce a board, does it give you, guarantee you efficiency?
Order. As the time is 12:30 hours, I suspend business until 14:30 hours for lunch break.
Thank you very much for still watching Parliament TV, the station dedicated to bringing Parliament closer to you. Business has been suspended until 14:30 hours, when we expect it to continue. Just to mention that the Member of Parliament for Nkana was on the floor of the House, contributing to debate on the second reading stage of that very important bill. And this is the National Youth Development Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2026.
Yes, indeed, Muta. And just now we take a look at some of the business that has been considered from the time business commenced at about 10 hours. There was a ministerial statement that was presented by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, and it was actually on the high-level engagements with Belgium, Sweden, and Japan, and Zambia's participation at the 11th summit of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States in Equatorial Guinea. And Muta, just give us the details of the statement.
Okay, so basically in that statement, the minister did indicate, did begin by updating the House on the working visits. And these working visits that Taza has talked about happened between 26 March 2026 and 1st April 2026. He did say that the engagements were indeed taken in furtherance of a government's economic diplomacy agenda, with the aim of strengthening Zambia's international partners, attracting trade and investment, and consolidating the country's position within the evolving global political and economic landscape. In his statement, he did mention a number of things, but just to summarize, he did conclude by saying that the working visits had actually indeed significantly advanced Zambia's foreign policy and economic diplomacy objectives, and that it remains to the government to translate the engagement into concrete investments, into programs and measurable development outcomes for the benefit of the people of Zambia. So in summary, that was what that ministerial statement was about. But just before we go to questions or answers that were considered, just to mention that there was indeed an urgent matter without notice that was raised on the floor of the House, and this one was raised by Chilubi Member of Parliament, Mr. Fove, directed at the Minister of Transport and Logistics. His matter was basically on the low-flying planes that have been observed flying on the over the water bodies in Chilubi constituency. However, his matter was inadmissible, but the Member of Parliament was asked to engage the Minister. That was the only urgent matter without notice that was raised on the floor of the House. Then we had a question for answer understanding order number 80.
Yes, indeed. We had one question for oral answer, understanding Order 80. And the question came from Mr. Mulenga Fube, who is Chilubi Member of Parliament. His question went to the Minister of Agriculture, and he wanted to know in A, whether the government is aware that some agro-dealers supplied substandard fertilizer in Chisumpa and Vulilo wards in Chilubi parliamentary constituency during the 2025-2026 farming season. In B, if so, what measures have been taken against the agro-dealers, and in C, whether the agro-dealers will be allowed to supply fertilizer in the 2026-2027 farming season and subsequent seasons, and in D, what measures the government is taking to prevent the recurrence of the supply of substandard fertilizer. And in a nutshell, the minister did respond to this question by stating that government is actually not aware of any agro-dealer having supplied a substandard fertilizer in Chisupa and Vulilo wards in Chilubi parliamentary constituency.
Okay, so that was the response to that question for answer that was considered on the floor of the House. After that, there was a motion that was moved by Shiwangandu Member of Parliament, Mr. Kampyongo, and this motion was basically to adopt the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies, that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Parastatal Bodies on the report of the Auditor General on the accounts of parastatal bodies and other statutory institutions for the financial year ended 31st December 2024 for the fifth session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Monday, 4th May 2026. And there were a number of members who contributed to debate on this particular motion. Of course, it was seconded by Zambezi West Member of Parliament, Mr. Vumango Musumali. Member of Parliament for Chilubi, Mr. Mulenga Fube, contributed to debate on this motion. The Minister of Youth, Sport and Arts, Honorable Elvis Nkandu, did give government position, and the motion was wound up by Shwangandu, Member of Parliament. The report has since been adopted.
Yes, indeed, and thereafter the House went on to consider the orders of the day, and these are the 13 bills, and so far we just ran you through some of the bills that have been considered at second reading stage, and committee stage actually is expected to be considered in due course. The first one being the Legal Aid Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 13 of 2026.
The Metrology Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2026, has also been considered and has since been read a second time.
And the Anti-Gender-Based Violence Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 18 of 2026, considered at second reading stage, read a second time, and committee stage will be taken in due course.
The Business Regulatory Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 19 of 2026, has since been read a second time, and we do expect a committee stage of this bill to take place in due course.
Yes, indeed. So those are the bills that have totally been considered at second reading stage. And at the time business was being suspended for lunch break, the House was actually considering the National Youth Development Council Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 24 of 2026, and so when business resumes at about 14:30, we do expect the House to continue considering this bill at a second reading stage. And so we also get to go for a lunch break, but remember to join us at about 14:30. Of course, you will be with Claudette Jonge and Joe Akatama Muyunda. And so from me and on behalf of Mutalifa Lile Simate, I wish you a pleasant afternoon.
My eParliament mobile application. First, download the app on either Play Store or App Store and install. After installation, open the app. Step 1. Register your personal information, that's your names, gender, NRC, and date of birth. Step 2. Add your contact information, your email, phone number, and home address. Step 3. Select your constituency. Step 4. Create your 4-digit PIN. At this point, the system will send an SMS to your mobile number with a one-time passcode. Step 5. Confirm with one-time passcode that was sent to your mobile. Step 6. Sign in using your phone number and the 4-digit PIN. And Step 7. Create your submission and submit. My eParliament, bringing Parliament closer to you.
On our constituency, we profile one of the most prominent constituencies in the country.
The constituents is facing a lot of challenges, but the major ones are, number 1, poor road network, communication network, no financial institutions, no colleges, no electricity, and inadequate infrastructure in both education and health.
Naika mulandula obwalwa nabana mayo bonse nabaponenamu nsunko obwalwa kyena nakibonawula
ekyo ndeko nkomesha ndeko byantanshikuro bwanga obukinjeko muno okumukushi